Hi YouTube, this is Darkon633 back with another Star Wars review. Today we're going to take a look at the 4 new figures in the first wave of the Star Wars Force Link 2.0 line from the Han Solo toy line. Now these are actually some pretty decent sculpts, although the overall quality of the toys really differ from figure to figure. It really comes down to the preference of the actual figure itself, and there are some few weird things going on with several of the figures here, but we're going to take a look at them more closely in a minute. Anyways, we're going to take a look at the presentation and contents. To start off, we're going to take a look at the cards first. So the cards in your standard kind of small 3 3/4 inch style. However, I really do like the color and overall design of the packages this time. Once again, they are a little bit on the cheap side since they do kind of fall apart very easily. But other than that, the actual card artwork's pretty well done and designs are pretty nice. On the back, it's pretty much what you've seen with the previous couple of movies, so there isn't a whole lot of difference going on there. Same thing can be said for the Range Trooper here as well. But I do like the presentation of the overall artwork and design of the characters, so there's that. And it promotes the Force Link 2.0 bracelet. Here's Qi'ra or Qi'ra? I don't really know what to pronounce this. I think it's Qi'ra, but there's a picture of her there. And on the back, we have the promotion there. And then finally, Chewbacca, which is obviously different this time since he does have the 2 bandoliers and he does not have his bowcaster this time. At least from what we can tell. In terms of contents, obviously you do get all the figures, but at least each figure has at least 1 accessory. Except for the Mimban Stormtrooper, which actually has 2. So in terms of overall presentation of contents, I give it a 5 out of 5 since they do look really nice. But in terms of figure quality, we'll take a look more closely there. Now in terms of features, we'll now move on to the Mimban Stormtrooper first, which unfortunately, while it has some of the cooler design overall, between the rest is the weakest out of the figures. The overall design is pretty good. It does have a lot of paint wear and design throughout it. However, because of the way of its pre-posing, you're going to have some very wonkiness going on with it. He does maintain the standard ball-jointed head there, the same swivels at the shoulders, and the same swivels at the hips. Now this is where it becomes slightly a problem. It seems that Hasbro did design this with the long sniper rifle of some sort in mind, so you do have it in a pre-pose. I did forget to mention he does have wrist joints, so it does have a couple joints of extra articulation, but once again, that's not going to really help overall because the arms, unfortunately, are pre-posed in a way where you can really only hold it in a certain ways. While in terms of actual kind of displaying it, it's probably not the worst since you are just putting it in some kind of attack position. It does have a problem with standing as well because of the way that his legs are designed, and he is a little bit back heavy because of the cape. So this is definitely not the best designed figure out there, but I do enjoy the design nevertheless. So we got that going for it. We're going to put it down since it will keep falling otherwise. Next, we're going to take a look at the Range Trooper. Now, the paint scheme is slightly different from what I could tell compared to the 6-inch, but it's really just minor differences. I think the grays are a little bit different than what we've seen with the 6-inch, but the overall design is still pretty on par for what we've seen there. The head does maintain the same ball joint as other 5 POA figures. This actual fur piece is actually made of a somewhat rubbery, but not as rubbery as some other kind of plastic, so you do have a little bit more movement there because of that. It does hinder the swivels on the shoulders because of that, but he does maintain the same swivels at the hips, so you got that going for it. He does have the standard, well, somewhat standard Stormtrooper blaster, but it does look nice nevertheless. Next, we're going to take a look at the only female character in the first wave, and that's Qi'ra. In terms of overall design, I think it's pretty good. I think they did a good job on it. The face sculpt is not the worst. I think it's pretty close to the actress's overall likeness. I'm not really too familiar with this actress, but I think they did a good job in terms of figure quality. The head is on a ball joint, and nothing hinders it there. Her shoulders are also on swivels, and fortunately, her skirt pieces, well, the bottom part of her dress does get in the way quite a bit. While it is made of a softer material in order to move it, it doesn't have that much issue. It does hinder it a bit and does make it kind of weird looking. So if you put it in a sitting stance way too long, the dress will actually warp accordingly. She does include this double barrel, kind of smaller blaster pistol. It actually looks pretty good, and it's definitely a little bit more unique outside of these larger resistant blasters we've been seeing. And then finally, we're going to take a look at Chewbacca. While it is just Chewbacca, and while he doesn't look that much different at times, except for the way that his fur looks, etc., there's actually quite an amount of difference this time in terms of figure. The head is actually quite different than what we've seen with normal Chewbaccas. It seems like his hair is a little bit more fluffed up, and because of that he does have a much younger look, and that's understandable since this is supposed to be when he was much younger. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, and unlike some other Chewbacca figures I have, it doesn't really hinder too much, even with the bandolier pieces. That's nice. You can look up and down slightly, but it is made of a somewhat softer plastic, so you can move it without that much restriction. He does maintain the same swivels at the shoulders and at the hips as well. And his accessory is this blaster, which is very interesting, since ever since we saw Chewbacca, it's unknown if he's actually going to have the bowcaster in this movie, but he probably might have it later on in the film. But seeing as the film is not aired in theaters yet, it really just comes down to assumptions. So in terms of overall the wave itself, this is all the new figures that are in the first wave of the Force Link 2.0 line, and while I can't say it's overall too impressive in the grand scheme of things, I think it's pretty good. And in terms of the whole wave so far, outside of the repacks, which I did not get, I give this about a 4 to 5, really because the Mimban Stormtrooper has a lot of problems. Now, in terms of overall value, I think this is pretty good for what it is. Each figure is around $7.99, and it's definitely not worth any more than the retail price, since all the figures are still 5 POA, and even with their good designs, it's definitely not really a good idea to get any price above these standard prices that they're going for. So I give each figure overall still about a 5 to 5 just because of what they do, but the Mimban Stormtrooper is really problematic in my opinion overall anyways. And from here we're only going to take a look at 2 figure comparisons. One here with the 2 Chewbaccas. Looking between the 2 Chewbacca variants I have here, the one from The Force Awakens with that terrible bowcaster, which I didn't bother bringing since it was real junk anyway, so I'm not really going to do anything for here. And next to the solo version of Chewbacca. In terms of overall design, although they don't look a whole lot different, I think I prefer the solo version of Chewbacca, since it definitely has a lot more differences compared to other Chewbacca releases, just because of the way that they design his fur, and I just really like how this particular design turned out. Final comparison, here's all the Imperial Trooper designs together side by side. This doesn't include the First Order units and a lot of the expanded universe versions of the Troopers that I currently don't own, but here's what we got so far, especially when it comes to the new media and the various new releases and some of the older releases which I did happen to get over time. Obviously, not all the Troopers are perfect by any means, but they did a fantastic job throughout the several years making these different variants of Troopers, and I can't wait to see more in the future. So this concludes my review for the new figures in the first wave of the Han Solo or Solo Star Wars story Force Link 2.0 line, and while there's a lot of hit or misses, I think they're worth getting, especially if you're a fan of Trooper variants, but because of how bad the Mimban Stormtrooper at times it is to me overall, I might need to warp the legs, maybe that's probably what's causing it. It's kind of a hit or miss overall in this wave. It's probably best to wait for the Vintage Collection releases, especially for the Range Trooper, since we have already seen a full confirmation with that, and fortunately, supposedly the Mimban Stormtrooper is also coming out as a Walmart exclusive for the Vintage Collection. In terms of the other characters, it's unknown if they're actually going to release a Qi'ra, but it's kind of expected at the rate we're going, and also maybe a Chewbacca, but Chewbacca has gotten several Vintage Collection releases, or just super articulate releases over the years, so I don't really know if they're going to make a solo variant of it. But overall, I think this is fantastic for what we're getting, since there is an okay variety of characters. We do have a lot of mainline characters and a bunch of Trooper variants in the first wave, so I see what Hasbro was going at least in terms of character selection. Maybe a little bit different on the actual figure quality. I got these at my local Target, and they have been trickling out in stores from this point on, so your best bet is to just check at retail online. It should be going around by now. Anyways, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and check out Hero Club and Hero Taku. Also check out Twitter, Darkon633, and don't forget to check down the other channels down below. Please check the little bell at the bottom of the screen in order to see my content go up as soon as possible. And back on more Star Wars reviews, but for now, I'll be seeing you too. Bye.